and help us with this discussion, the conversation we're going to enter into. My name is Paul van Hoof, and I'll be the host for you for this session. Since I was invited to host this session, I've been thinking about what is a metaphor that describes the present situation in the Arab region. And only yesterday I was watching a movie on television, and in that movie there was a time machine. I thought, well, that's not a bad metaphor for what's going on at the moment in the Arab region. I think we have all seen those type of movies in which there's a kind of weird Einstein-like professor who is inventing a machine that can enable him to travel in time. What that machine is doing is fusing space, time and energy in one, and that enables that person to move through time. Now if we look at the Arab Spring last year, that had that same kind of catalytic function. It was a moment when time and energy and chaos and energy was combined, and that created the window of opportunity for social change. It's an opening to make a big leap forward towards democratic governance. But as you know, with time machines, those opportunities only last very short. And we can't afford to let this opportunity slip. Because before you know, and we see that already happening, political elites will capture that limited space, and that window of opportunity is closed again for another few years. Since it doesn't long at that last, the window offers us a choice. We can either be affected by the world, or we can affect the world. We have that choice. And as one of our wisest people once said, if we want to see change, we have to live change. Now today, you've listened to various inspiring people who made that choice, who want to make a difference in their work, in their life, and to contribute to social accountability. Now, you were all invited to this conference because you all have the potential to make such a difference. You or your organization can make a difference. And I'm sure that each of you has very good ideas about how in your country social accountability can move forward. Now, I would like to have the opportunity to ask each of you here to speak about that, to inspire us. But we can't do that. We can't ask everyone to give a 10-minute presentation. That would be too boring as well. But what we'll do is we create this opportunity here now in the world of what we call a World Cafe. What is a World Cafe? Why do we call it a World Cafe? We create a kind of informal atmosphere. We slow down a bit from the rest of the day. We take a bit more time. And we have an opportunity to meet new people, people who you haven't seen before and you otherwise wouldn't meet. It's an opportunity now. And we start a conversation about an issue that's all close to our heart. And that conversation would be a kind of conversation you could have in a cafe. And that's why we call it World Cafe. It's a very simple but powerful method. We will have 2 rounds of conversations in which you will have a dialogue about only one question with the people around your table. Each table has a table host. Can the table host please raise their hands? Who are table hosts? Is that table without a table host? I think we're quite fine. Good. Those table hosts will facilitate the discussion. After 40 minutes, I will ask you to move to another table. You get a new number and you move to another table. And you continue the discussion with other people. Now by doing that, we will see that we will converge our opinions and our ideas into one idea. What have we heard today? That the success of democratic transition in the Arab region depends, amongst others, on the strengthening of administrative, political and social accountability mechanisms in these countries. Government institutions have to become more transparent, responsive and accountable, which requires a combination of political, legislative and judicial reforms. A change in organizational culture and the creation of an enabling environment that empowers citizens to hold government accountable. On the other hand, we have civil society and the media who need to strengthen their capacity to demand for more accountability in a constructive manner and educate and empower citizens to hold government accountable. That's in one sentence a conclusion of today's discussion. Now, if this is the case, what then, from your perspective, from the perspective of the organization you represent, from your perspective, what should be done or what is maybe already taking place in your country that enhances social accountability? Which of these three actors should take a lead in the process? Government, civil society or media? And what support is required from the other ones to support that process? We saw that collaboration is critical in achieving that success. So what type of support is needed? And what can you or your organization do to support this process? We're interested in that. We're interested in your ideas to hear what you think is possible. And of course, by asking you this, we acknowledge that you all come from a different background and from different countries and a different setting. So we won't be able to come up with one conclusion today that is applicable to all countries, applicable to all settings. But we will hopefully take away a few bright ideas, new ideas of what you can do, what we collectively can do to enhance social accountability. The table host will first check with you whether you're comfortable either in speaking Arabic or English. If there's problems with translation, we can ask some of the translators to help you. But I think we will manage with the table hosts who are most of all bilingual, so they will be able to assist, or you can assist each other. So I therefore hand it over now to the table hosts. They will repeat the question, check whether you all understand the question, and from there on we will start a discussion. So I wish you all a rewarding and good conversation. I will come back to you in 40 minutes' time when it's time to move to another table. After the 2 rounds, we will also have a plenary round where we will harvest some of the conclusions that have come out of these discussions. Is this so far clear? Fine, good. Then I wish you very good deliberations. Thank you. You want? I have a question. You don't have a host. Okay, I'll arrange a host for you. Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I see there are very interesting discussions going on. But we have to be out of this room by 6:30, and I also want to create the opportunity for sharing some of the conclusions. So if the table host can please wind up the discussion, summarize for the table a bit what is discussed, and then later after that I'll ask you to present at plenary. Thank you.
Fully energized, I just need to grab them.
Good. Where do you want to sit so that we can immediately see it on the screen? How do we do that? Can you stand typing or not?
We're going now. 15 minutes. We got 15
I'm
minutes.
just taking notes.
Yeah. Our facility. Just close it.
Well, I was going to type it in PowerPoint now. Or Word.
Word is faster, I think. Okay, we'll start. Okay, this is always the worst part of this exercise, when I have to interrupt you and be strict on stopping. Can we
I'm being an idiot, but I
come back to the plenary?
I can't find the...
There is 3 more days for discussions. So if you have met some interesting people, you can continue the discussions later.
There you go, Microsoft Office. You want to double click? There you go, Word. I think I'm becoming senile.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. Good. We are going to take some conclusions, and I'm eager to hear what you've been coming up with. I will start with the table on this side. Can you start presenting some of the conclusions from table 2? Yes, you. Please, can I have your attention? There is translation.
Arabic.
Is there a translation? Can we still have a translation, either from English to Arabic or Arabic to English? Yeah? When you start talking, they will quiet down. So please, some conclusions from this table. Can you listen? Can you please listen to the conclusions from this table? You get an opportunity also. Please, go ahead.
Yes, شكرا.
Thank you. Thank you. On table 2, we had representatives from Morocco.
Thank you for your attention. Now can you please listen to conclusions from table 2?
طيب احنا كان على طاولة رقم.
On table 2, we had representatives from Morocco, Sudan, and Egypt, and Kuwait, Libya, and Tunisia, and Lebanon. And the discussion was quite interesting, and we needed more time. But the bottom line is as follows. Social accountability did exist, but it was quite weak. The enabling environment for social accountability did not exist in most of the countries that I just mentioned now here present at my table. But it is the responsibility of the state to create this enabling environment to help with 2 main elements. The first one is access to information. That's why you need to have active social accountability. You need to access information, and access to information is quite difficult. So there needs to be awareness and education with regards to social accountability. Also, the anti-corruption mechanisms. We do not want to speak about the UNCAC or the United Nations Conventions Against Corruption. But if you want to have good social accountability with regards to corruption, you have to have an eye on the parliament so that you would really be able to make accountability happen. But here the participants with me on this table said that there is a dilemma. And the dilemma is that the majority in the parliament are the ones who select the government or appoint the cabinet. So in this case, that would be very difficult to hold them socially accountable, because in this case, the parliament can protect their own people within the government with regards to corruption. But there was an experience that I need to mention with regards to Morocco, that actually an NGO was able to host a governor, and they held them accountable with regards to the performance of those officials in that particular governorate. And I learned that this was successful, and they were able to change some of the actions taken by the government. But to have effective social accountability, we need, and as some of the colleagues said, that it happens at two levels. A generic kind of accountability at the level of the parliament, and accountability for individuals and the government. And the mechanisms do not exist, unfortunately. The mechanisms are not there. Here they said that maybe some entities can provide some insight into what are the mechanisms with regards to social accountability.
Also, comment? To come up with your conclusions, please.
شكرا لك. أتكلم بالعربية.
Thank you. I will speak in Arabic. We are from Bahrain, Palestine, Yemen, and Algeria. And from Macedonia. The demands for change are quite accumulative. We have not left any one of them out. The first one is spreading awareness and enhancing the practices for change that they would coincide. Also, this would be built on a method of dialogue between all the relevant parties. The third change that needs to be available is spreading human rights culture and respect for human rights as a culture, so that the citizens would be aware of the fact that they do have rights and they need to demand those rights. If they don't know they have rights, how would they ask or demand them? Another change that we all agreed on is to draft laws, to adopt laws legislatively that would hold the state, the central state and decentralized state, bound by helping, so that the state would be bound or be forced to help. And one of the examples he goes to say that the municipal councils, there need to be laws that would make the municipal councils or municipalities accountable before their citizens. And that's why we need a legislative framework for such accountability to be legalized. Another point the colleague from Macedonia said, he said something very important that they all agree on in Europe, which is the Human Rights Charter and human rights education and democratic citizenship, which considers, he goes back to say, in Europe it has been signed but has not been enforced. We asked about the enforcement or putting something into application. He said something that is very important, that in this charter the mechanism for implementation is the actual practice and not just application. We talked about integrity. If we speak of integrity, then we need to include criteria for integrity in an institution and to make sure that they are actually being implemented, not that we would just check on integrity and that's it. As for those who would lead change, truly, each country had its conditions and its idiosyncratic situation, and on the basis of which we respected all opinions. And the colleague in Bahrain said that you have three parties that need to work together, or actors. He says actually there are four. And he added the private sector to it. He said the private sector, the civil society, the government, and the media. In Palestine, they said it needs to be the civil society that needs to lead change. But we all agreed the fact that you might have a leading sector, but others would be supporting or providing enabling environment. So there would be an understanding in the public sector that accountability is important, so that we allow it. As for Yemen, the colleague said youth, youth, youth. Only youth would lead, and this is what he said. The Yemeni colleague said that their experience has proven that the elite, the political elite in particular, and even at the level of civil society, the elite in that particular segment are not adequate, because there might be a separation or a divorce between the elite and the citizens on the street or the laymen. That their experience in Yemen proved that the regular citizens, the youth, are the ones who lead the change. And he said that in Yemen we had the arms, we held the arms, but we all together did choose peaceful resistance, and this is what we did through youth leadership. So they do this through the different. Last point, each institution would have a role in this framework, and agreement that their institutions need to have a leading role in change with regards to civil society. If I forgot anything, perhaps he doesn't continue the sentence.
Table on the English side, maybe they're coming some different conclusion. Can you present your conclusion, please?
Thank you. Well, let me introduce my group first. I have colleagues and friends from Somaliland, Malaysia, Sudan, Kuwait, Algeria, Bahrain, and Morocco. So the first question that we tackled was the question of the one action or change that should be carried out, and the reply that I had from all of my colleagues was, it's not one action that we need. It's a very complex issue, that of social accountability, and it would require a more holistic approach that would take into account both aspects. I mean, it's a situation that we described as the chicken and the egg situation. On the one hand, it requires the strengthening of institutions, legal reforms, strengthening and putting together tools and systems, and building capacities of civil society, of the media, of the government, but also strengthening mostly the value system. A value system that would strengthen ethics and accountability and fight against corruption as a way of life, as a perception of a way of doing things. And it has been, found out and described as the one main challenge in the Arab countries, in some of the Arab countries, at least in the region that we discussed here, which is that of the value system. And so if there was one action that was, identified as very urgent and very important, was that of strengthening civic education and citizen participation together, while at the same time, of course, carrying out with strengthening the mechanisms and, capacities. So that was the first question. And when it came to the second question of how to do it and who should take the lead, civil society was described and was identified as the main actor that should be strengthened. Again, not the one that should take the lead, but the one that was historically weakened and challenged, because of different factors that are rather common to the region as a whole. And so because it's the weakened, the maillon faible, how we'd say it in French, the weakened actor, it should be the one that should be most strengthened to carry out, advocacy, to be the suggestive force among the three actors. But at the end of the day, the one actor that was identified as the one that has the means, the budget, the structures, the institutions to carry out change and should eventually take the lead is the government. Different governmental institutions that would be able to draft laws, to finance and fund, put in, systems that would be put together and strengthen the abilities of all the different actors and eventually, manage the relationship between the three. We did not get to the third question eventually because we were still wondering whether which of the three actors basically would be more trustworthy, because the issue of trust was also raised. Government is perceived by most, I would say citizens, if this table is representative of citizens and institutions in some of our countries, as self-serving at best, media as having its commercial interests. I hope my colleagues from the media sector would not, hold that against me. And civil society is perceived as being the least self-serving actor of the three. And so it requires over and over again on this table as much strengthening as possible. I hope I covered all the questions. Thank you.
Very good, very clear conclusion, thank you. Then I would like to give the big table at the end also an opportunity to present the conclusions, because I wonder how they were able to manage their discussion in such a big group. Yeah, this final table. And unfortunately, this is the final table. I've just been told in my ear. Who wants to present?
Indeed, we had a big table, a very rich discussion. We have colleagues from Palestine, Kuwait, Syria, Algeria, Libya, and Yemen. The discussion was so rich that we didn't answer the third question, but in terms of how can civil society, social accountability be enhanced, we were very specific in coming up with endorsement of access of information. Capacity development of civil society and accountability should be enhanced by providing more tools. You're going too fast. By providing more tools, empower the civil society public and support them in doing so. Independence of justice came up in a number of countries. And then have incentives in order to reach out to social accountability. In terms of who should lead the social accountability exercise, that was another very rich discussion. And to summarize, it is the three actors should be involved in the social accountability exercise. However, in ideal context, that should be led by civil society organizations, given that we have a responsive government, that we have a civil society that's the capacity is built, and no political agendas as well, civil society that has tools as well, civil society that can work hand in hand with the media. And I hope that I did justice to our rich conversation.
Thanks very much, thank you. It's unfortunate that we can't listen to all your conclusions. As a compromise, I just want to give one person who has a really burning issue, and we haven't heard a conclusion in that direction. Any person, so it doesn't have to be table host. I'll just give one person an opportunity to add something that you say, well, this really is something new, I haven't heard that. Yasmin, your hand is up very high. So I'll give the chance to you.
It wouldn't be long, but...
Thank you, Paul.
No. With regard to the third question for which...
No. Yasmin, I'll give the preference to the lady.
Sorry. Because we had lots of discussions about the importance of access to information, transparency, and raising awareness, we moved backward and we asked ourselves, what is social accountability? And then we found that there is a very interesting conclusion, which is that every country has to come up with its own definition of social accountability. What is social accountability? An operationalized definition that fits the social, the economic, the political context of each country. And then the second normal situation is to start to promote it. So what is social accountability? In Kuwait, it's different to social accountability. In Morocco, it's different to social accountability. In Kenya, in Croatia, or in Egypt. But when you define it and when you operationalize it, this gives you an idea about how to go about it, how to promote it, who to promote it. It gives you a more clear idea about which party is more responsible of promoting and calling for social accountability. So I felt that this is like a very preliminary thing to go with, to start defining social accountability and to operationalize it in a way that fits the country itself. and not to assume that there is a common, widely accepted definition for social accountability, because like any definition in social sciences, it doesn't. We also agreed that the state should have a very big role in applying social accountability, and we meant by the state every branch in the state, the judiciary, the executive, and the legislative. We felt that social accountability should be brought in the constitution, should be part of the laws, and should be institutionalized, and should be part of the legislations, and part of the regulations, and should be well enforced. So we felt that the bigger role of social accountability is in the hand of the state. So we need a definition, and we need a bigger role for the state and a will of the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasmin.
If I may, and I apologize, but we do have a constraint with the translators. And we promised them that we would conclude by 6:30. They've already gone a half an hour beyond what was their allotted time. So I would like to actually give them an applause and thank you for their excellent job today. And what I have to say is very important to be translated. If you recall earlier, we said in your name tags you have USBs. These are actually tracking mechanisms. So we can follow your every move. Now this is important because, as you might be aware, there are some events that are taking place in Cairo tonight. There will be demonstrations that are being discussed right now between opposition groups, both pro and anti the recent presidential decree. They will mainly congregate around Tahrir Square, but as well as the Cairo University, which is in Giza. We cannot stress more strongly, please avoid demonstrations for your own safety. We will be monitoring your whereabouts. But honestly, we cannot stress, please do take some caution because these situations are unpredictable. They're mostly peaceful, but we did hear today that someone regrettably lost their lives. So I would just like to encourage a very safe and sound night for all. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all of the participants for a tremendous job. Well done today. You all deserve an applause. We realize that it's been a very long day. However, we want to give you an opportunity to actually continue without translators. For those that are interested to continue the dialogue, we will release the translators after this statement because, again, it's gone beyond their allotted time. But for those that would like to continue this discussion, we're welcome to do it. We still have options with the audio and the microphones. The people are also welcome to enjoy the rest of their evening. The last point I will make is that we will commence at 9 a.m. sharp. Please, you saw we had a very busy schedule today. Tomorrow will be even more engaging, more interesting. We will be splitting into two smaller working groups along the lines of the Universal Periodic Review and governance assessments. It's bound to be some of the most engaging information and exchanges of development discourse that you've had in your careers. So please do be present at 9 o'clock. And with that, thank you to all. And you can continue with the discussion, should you please. So thank you.
Before you go, I would like to ask to make sure that we have the conclusions from the other tables as well, that the table hosts collected their conclusions and either in written form or sent them via email to Nina so that we grapple all your conclusions from today. Thank you.